The first part of the unit number 6, FACS devices, explains the outline of unit number 6. Definitions of active power, reactive power, and apparent power are discussed. Apart from that, it also describes the power flow in AC system, then importance of reactive power compensation, and at last it also includes conventional control mechanism for the reactive power compensation. So let us begin with the outline of unit number 6. The first topic of this unit will be the importance of the reactive power compensation. But before that, once again we will quickly go through the terminologies like active power, reactive power, and apparent power, flow of power in AC system and conventional control mechanisms. How does the power flow in AC system and what are the control mechanisms were used earlier before the semiconductor devices in order to control the parameters of AC system. That will be covered in this topic. After that, we will define the flexible AC transmission systems, which is known as FACS, and we will go through the brief description about FACS controller. Then what are the possible benefits from these FACS? Thereafter, we will do the classification of FACS controller, and one of the FACS controller is thyristor controlled reactor. So we will understand the construction and working principle of this TCR. Thereafter, we will go through the working principle of FCTCR. After understanding the limitation of TCR, we will move towards the fixed capacitor thyristor controlled reactor, which is known as FCTCR. Thereafter, we will try to understand thyristor switch capacitor and the reactor. Next topic will be the thyristor switch capacitor and thyristor controlled reactor, which is known as TAC TCR. After that, STATCOM, that is static compensator. So we will understand the construction and the operating principle of STATCOM. The next topic will be the static characteristics of SVC and STATCO. SVC stands for static volt ampere reactive compensator. So the TCR, FCTCR, TACTCR, all these FACS controllers are the types of SVC. We will do the comparison between SVC and the STATCOM. After that, principle of series compensation, where the FACS controller is connected in series manner with the transmission system. Introduction to SSSC, which is known as static synchronous series compensator. Advantages and limitations of this SSSC. And at last, we will go through the introduction of UPFC and operating principle of unified power flow controller. That is also again one type of FACS controller. So in this unit, we will begin with the reactive power compensation and we shall understand the role of FACS controller in the AC transmission system by understanding various types of FACS controller. So before we begin with the importance of reactive power compensation, let us first of all understand the meaning of active, reactive and apparent power. In electrical field, the active power is referred to the power which is consumed by any electrical load. It is measured in terms of kilowatt. The power which is not utilized by any electrical load is referred as reactive power and it is measured in terms of kilovolt ampere reactive. When the active and reactive, both these powers are added together, we get the net power, total power. It is also known as the apparent power and it is measured in terms of kilovolt ampere. So you will better understand these terminologies with the help of beer glass analogy. The glass of this beer has two portions. The first one is the beer itself and the second one is the foam of the beer. So when we add both the content together and the net content of the glass is known as the apparent, but the actual content inside the glass which we want is this beer in the form of liquid, which can be considered as a real power in the electricity field. And the content which is in the form manner, that actually we do not want, but it comes in the glass with this real liquid part of the beer, hence we can consider it as reactive. So in short, this portion of the glass can be considered as a working electricity in the electrical field, and this portion of the glass can be considered as a wasted electricity in the electrical field. And working electricity plus wasted electricity is equal to the total electricity, which is apparent power in the electrical field. Moving ahead, importance of the reactive power compensation. Transformers, generators, and transmission lines are predominantly inductive, and most loads have an inductive component as well. So the majority of electrical equipments are inductive in nature. The presence of inductance delays the current response of these components to voltage variation across them. It simply it simply states that the current through this inductive element lags behind the voltage across these components, and this effect causes phase shifts between the voltage and the current waveforms, which affect the efficiency of the power transmission process. The instantaneous power, which is denoted by small p, associated with a power system component, is the product of two instantaneous parameters. The first one is the instantaneous voltage small v and the instantaneous current I. So small p, which is instantaneous power, is the product of instantaneous voltage and instantaneous current. The integration of the instantaneous power variation over a complete cycle divided by the period of repetition, which means that 1 upon t integration t to t plus t p dt, that is referred as average or the active power. If both voltage and current vary sinusoidally at same frequency in terms of RMS, which is root mean square, voltage V and the current I quantities, the active power is expressed as P is equal to VI cos phi. So this power is the active power, or we can say the average power in terms of RMS value of voltage and current. So P is equal to VI cos phi. This phi represents the phase displacement between the voltage and the current parameter. So as I said that where phi is the phase angle between the voltage and current. This phi may be the positive value or it may be the negative value, or if the load is purely resistive in nature, then the phase angle between voltage and current should be 0. So the magnitude of phase angle depends on the type of load we connect in the power system. Reactive power is required to establish the magnetic field in inductive elements and electrostatic fields in capacitive elements. It is temporarily stored and then released, which means that it consists of positive and the negative regions within the cycle. We know that inductors and capacitors are energy storage devices, and these devices work on the principle of energy is being stored during one portion of the cycle and energy is being released during the other portion of the cycle, and hence we get the inductive and capacitive effect in the power system. So for the inductor to work, magnetic field is required, and for the capacitor to work, electrostatic field is required, and these fields are produced and collapsed because of the reactive power. In fact, The energy associated with the reactive power oscillates between the element and the rest of the circuit at the rate of 2 reversals per period. So the reactive power is not consumed by any element. The reactive power comes from supply to the elements. During that time, magnetic and electrostatic fields are produced in inductor and capacitor elements respectively, and when these fields get collapsed, the entire reactive power goes back from the inductor and capacitive element to the supply. Hence, the reactive power is continuously circulating in the circuit. Although the reactive power has a zero average value, it still represents the real reciprocating energy that must be present by virtue of the inductance or capacitance of the network. So, in order to produce the magnetic and electrostatic field in the system, we need reactive power. So, we cannot make reactive power zero in the power system. The convention used is that when the Q is positive, the current lags the voltage, and when Q is negative, the current leads the voltage. Here Q is the reactive power. So when the reactive power is positive, which means that the current lags behind the voltage by some amount of angle, and when the reactive power Q is negative, then the current leads the voltage by some amount of phase angle. In order to improve the efficiency of the system, the power factor is kept near to unity. But due to the reactive power flow in the network, the power factor is poor. Hence, to improve the power factor and overall efficiency of the system, the reactive power compensation is required. So in short, if more than the required reactive power flow happens into the system, then that additional reactive power should be compensated in order to improve the power factor of the system. So we can improve the efficiency of the system. Power flow in AC system. A purely inductive line interconnecting two ideal voltage sources. The first one is denoted by V1 and the second is denoted by V2, which can be either generators or nodes of the synchronous systems are shown. So here we can see that the bus 1 where the voltage magnitude is V1 and angle, load angle is delta. Then this is the line between the bus 1 and bus 2. Voltage at bus 2 is V2 angle 0 and current at the receiving side is I2 angle 5. And this is the corresponding phasor diagram. So starting with the receiving end side voltage V2 angle 0. So first vector is this one V2. We know that line has inductive reactance. So because of that the current lags behind the voltage by some amount of angle. That angle is 5. So the vector for I2. Voltage at the receiving end plus voltage drop across the entire line is equal to the voltage at the sending end. So the voltage drop across the entire line is represented by this vector Ji2x, and this is the vector corresponding to the voltage at the sending end side V1. The load angle between the receiving end voltage and the sending end voltage is delta. So by taking the projection from this point over the x-axis, we get this right angle triangle. This side of triangle is I2x cos phi and this side of triangle is I2x sin phi. So I2x cos phi is nothing but the V1 sine of delta, which is V1 sine of this angle is equal to I2x cos phi, and I2x sin phi is nothing but the V1 cos of delta minus V2. V1 cos of delta minus V2. So by just using the basic mathematical theorem and principles, we can find out this relationship. The phasor diagram represents the operating condition when the voltage at terminal 1 leads that of terminal 2 by angle delta. referred to as the power angle, and current at terminal 2 lags its voltage by an angle 5 referred to as the power factor angle. So there are two angles. The first angle is the delta and the second angle is the 5. The delta is referred as the power angle, which is between the sending end side and the receiving end side voltage, and power factor angle, that is the phase displacement between the voltage and current at the receiving end side. Using the voltage of terminal 2 as a phase reference, the following expressions are derived from this diagram. So the power P is equal to V2 I2 cos phi. So when we substitute I2 cos phi from this expression, we can get V1 V2 sine of delta divided by X. Similarly, Q is equal to V2 I2 sine of phi. So by substituting I2 sine phi from this expression, we get V2 inside the bracket V1 sine of delta minus V2 divided by X. And these two equations are nothing but, one is power, which is active power. P is equal to V2 I2 cos phi. As I said earlier, when I2 cos phi is made the subject of equation in this one and sending this X in the denominator on the right hand side, that I2 cos phi is substituted into this equation, we get active power transmission in AC system as V1 V2 sine of delta divided by X, and mathematically we can represent the reactive power in AC system as V2 I2 sine phi. Similar to the above case, when we substitute I2 sine phi, we get V2 inside the bracket V1 sine of delta minus V2 divided by X. So this is the reactive power which is mathematically presented. So this is the reactive power present into the AC system, and this is the active power which is transmitted by the AC system. So to control the active power and or the reactive power transfers, it is necessary to vary one or more of these four variables. If you closely observe these two expressions of active and reactive power, then you can understand that each of these expression contains four variables. The first one is V1, that is the voltage corresponding to the sending end side. Second is V2, which is voltage corresponding to the receiving end side. Then delta, that is the power angle between sending end and the receiving end voltage. And X, that is the reactance offered by the line. So out of these four variables, you can vary one or more variables to control the power. It may be active power or the reactive power. The conventional control mechanisms, the mechanisms which were used earlier to compensate the reactive power in the system before the semiconductor devices came into the picture, the first method was the automatic generation control. It is also referred as AGC. Thereafter, excitation control. The next method to control the AC system was the tap changer control, and at last, by using the phase shifting transformer, we could control the active and reactive power in the AC system. So these are the four methods which are known as the conventional control mechanism for AC transmission system.